So I am back from Edinburgh and I thought I would do a little bit of a tournament report just to go over what happened, how it was, how I played, and do a bit of a list review whilst I was there. Just break down the whole event and have a good time doing it. If I look like a sack of poo, that is because I'm very tired. It was a very long journey there and back, and I have children, so I didn't get back till very, very late, and I was up very, very early. So I am exhausted, but we're here, we're making content straight away whilst it's all fresh in my brain, and I'm going to talk about the Road to Defiant Edinburgh by WorldCryUK and Wild Dice Wonder himself, Phylax. And yeah, let's dive right in. So the event was great. There was 8 players overall, and it was just so much fun. The venue was quite nice. It was quite spacious. We had plenty of space to move around. It wasn't cramped and all sweaty and stuff. It was wonderful. I got the opportunity to speak to everyone there, and it was just a great time. It was a really chill vibe. But once the models were down, it was all go. It was action stations, and it was pretty darn spicy. So the list I decided to bring this time. So in Glasgow, I didn't do a tournament report on Glasgow, but in Glasgow I brought Untamed Beast with Dragon Ogres, and I came 3rd overall. It was kind of fun. But today I thought I'd bring something, or yesterday even, I thought I would bring something a little bit more competitive, a little bit more of what I've been working on, having a bit of fun with recently. And that's Horns of a Shut with a Vexmore and a Trueblood. Blessings wise, Vexmore has +1 attack, Trueblood +1 move, and had like 10 points left of us. I put +1 crit on that Ruinator Alpha. It has 2 Flame Hurlers, 3 Shatterers, 8-man list. Fairly, I would say it's fairly standard. I think this is the exact list I suggested like a year and a bit ago in my Horns of a Shut video, which I'll put a link to if you want to check it out. It's still relevant now. It was a really good list. I've played it on TTS a bunch and it's done okay. At the event, it was very, very dominant, and I'm going to go through those games now. So my first game was against Matthew Campbell and his Cruel Boys. Now, I actually have played Matthew before. So last year in Edinburgh, I played one box Corvus Cabal into his Ogre More Tribes, and almost scraped out a win. I was 1 point. I lost by about a point. It was very, very close. So it's a very interesting game then. So we got a rematch in the first game of this one. So the mission was Endless Struggle, and Matthew brought a Gut Ripper boss with Wicked Sticker, a Brute boss with Boss Chopper, a Shank, Hrothgorn Man Trapper. You don't see Hrothgorn often nowadays. He has fallen out of favour a little bit. It's always fun to see Hrothgorn pop up. Quiv, a Stabgrot, sorry, 3 Stabgrots, a Lugget, and a Thwack, and a Bushwhacker. So this is basically... I want to take some big things, so lots of small things. So Hrothgorn, big thing. Brute Boss, big thing. Bunch of small things. Honestly, I think the Brute Boss is a little bit of a... potentially a bit of a miss here. The main reason we take a Brute Boss is for his punchiness and his you messing. When this list is so big at 10 man, I don't think you're really concerned all too much about not holding objectives. So you messing might have been a bit of an overreach maybe there. Potentially taking if possible, a Mega Boss or something like a Clawback. Maybe I would consider. But the list was really good. Hrothgorn's a massive threat, especially on a objective treasure kill mission, right? It's all 3 combined, so it's quite the nasty mission. And this went pretty darn well. In terms of kill points, I killed 550, which doesn't sound like a lot. But the only thing I didn't kill was like 2 Grots and Hrothgorn, right? So most of his list was killed in this one. I think 7 models died. They're just really cheap. So that's how that worked. And I lost 385 kill points. So it was a Trueblood, a Shatterer, and 1 of my Flame Hurlers died that game. And in terms of the actual scoring, I won fairly comfortably. And the real reason for that was because Hrothgorn is the main threat here, right? So I'm not so concerned about the Brute Boss. I'm not massively concerned about the Stab boss, and none of the chaff are even worth thinking about with my warband. So I wasn't. The only thing that was a real concern was Hrothgorn. Now, Hrothgorn has an issue of, he's just hard to kill. He's got 40 wounds. Hrothgorn doesn't die without some investment. So I was basically going to say, I was either going to send in Vexmore and just bap him, and that'll sort him out eventually. or ignore them to a degree. So I decided, because of how the deployments worked out, that I'm just going to send in my True Blood and net him. And that doesn't seem like a big deal because, well, he's got a range attack. Well, that's where the source came in. So when we deployed, he wasn't actually in range to shoot anyone. So I netted him out of range of anyone relevant, and then stood like 0.1 of an inch away, 1.1 inch away, so he couldn't actually then attack in melee or range my True Blood. So Hrothgorn was basically neutralized from turn 1, and Hrothgorn didn't move for the rest of the game. He only got a fire, I think, once total over the course of the whole game, didn't get a kill, and just kind of vibed in the middle doing nothing. So he was shut down all game, and all the grots that he deployed with, which was most of the grots, got stabbed and killed by the True Blood. So that was Hrothgorn dealt with. After that, the next big threat was the waltzing on Brute Boss on the long table edge. Brute Boss plus Shank plus his sticker boss, and they walked straight into a Vexmore. And spoiler, Vexmore clears. He killed them both in one turn, in fact. So I rolled pretty well, but yeah, both of them were just bap dead. There you go. That's the end of both of those guys. We move on, and after that, he won. He had the most points on turn 1. We were tied turn 2. Then I clawed back turn 3, turn 4. As I moved my guys up, took objectives back. So yeah, it was a really dominant win overall, and it really was because a lot of this list's power is Hrothgorn. If you shut Hrothgorn down, that's either killing him or just neutralizing him. The list has no staying power, and my list has kill everywhere, right? Even the Shatterers are good at killing when compared to Stab Grots and Grots, so the whole list could just go around and just murderize everyone, and that's basically what happened. You had a Lugget and a Thwack left, and I think it was Bushwhacker were the only 2 things left alive bar Hrothgorn. So yeah, it was quite the dominant win. So it was a really good start. That was a really good start to the tournament for me, going on to game 2. And the game 2 was a tricky one because I've played Jess before, and Jess was running Stormcast Eternals, and it's Phylax's Warhammer World winning list, which, if you don't know what that is, it is nasty as all hell. It's Warrior Chamber, it's 3 Paladins with Star Soul Mace, all with strength, a Severin Steelheart, a Protector, which is a range 3 Paladin basically, which is nasty to deal with, and Angharad Bright Shield. And yeah, it's a nasty list that I can't really fight fairly into. They are very good at killing my guys, and the might on the Paladins means they can swing into Vexmore quite effectively. They're hitting on 4s still, but they can definitely punch through Vexmore, giving enough time and some good enough rolls. However, the mission was, if I can find it, is Stand and Fight, which is an objective mission where you get bonus points for killing half their warband and killing their leader. So in this case, it was Severin on Jess's behalf. And right away, this went really bad for Jess, partially down to bad dice, good dice on my behalf. So we deployed up, ready to go, and there was just a perfect opportunity to use the Flame Hurler to burn 2 Paladins immediately, and they couldn't do much about it, which is the thing, right? I just messed around and just sort of like chilled a little bit, let her do what she had to do, and her Paladin and Protector moved up to take an objective, as you have to do. You have to be aggressive, so they moved aggressively forward. Now the Flame Hurler, perfectly safe, stepped forward, did 10 damage on the Protector, and then used Engulfing Flames of Dark Artifice, did 9 damage on both the Stormcaster, the Protector, and the Paladin. Both took 9 damage, which maths is saying that one was on 1 wound and the other is on 11. So that deployment group is basically dead. They have no chance of doing anything for the rest of the game. The Protector is about to die, and the Star Soul Mace will also likely die next turn. And the big issue with the Star Soul Maces in this matchup is that all my guys just don't need to fight them. This is the big issue. So they're only moving 3. So even with Rush, they're only going 5 inches of threat. 4 inches of move, 1 inch of their melee attack. All my Flamers, so I've got 2 Flamers, my Flamers are 6 inches of range. So I can stand there and fire from 6 inches away, and that is completely safe. That isn't great for Jess to deal with. And this started to stack up over the course of the game. Vexmore walked up and on turn 2 just domed them both, and that was the end of that. And then a third Paladin matched up as well, and Vexmo domed that one as well. Again, really good luck on that third Paladin, but that's another Starsword Mace just completely domed. On turn, I think it was turn 2 or turn 3. On turn 1 though, another little a little trick I managed to pull off was, again, it was the Trueblood. Trueblood is MVP every time. Trueblood ran up and just netted one of the Starsword Mace Paladins that deployed nearby, and that meant that functionally that one Paladin was in the middle of nowhere, not doing anything, unable to interact, unable to get objectives, which allowed me to take control of the board more easily because I already outnumbered her. But then a third of a warband was dead at the start of turn 2, and another one was locked down, and yeah, the battle was very, very brutal. In the end, I killed all but one Paladin, and I only lost a Shatterer. So it was 820 to 60 in terms of kill points, which is, it's devastating. The game was fun. It was a fun game. I think we both had a good laugh with it. But the matchup was just not good for Jess. The fact that guys were just too slow, and I know how to deal with Warrior Chamber. So there's that little lean there, right? You want to make sure that they're never injured. If they're alive, they're on full wounds. And if you're going to attack them, you kill them, and you don't let them do free moves. If they can't do free moves, they are unable to do much. And with the power of Engulfing Flames, the power of that Trueblood net, and just Vexmo killing 3 Paladins, like, yeah, it went rapidly downhill. And when you're outnumbered 2-1 on turn 2, and then that rapidly goes to you now outnumbered 4-1 in an objective mission, there really wasn't any coming back from that, which is unfortunate. It was a very one-sided game, but we had a laugh about it, and I think this matchup really showed the power of this list into even smashy lists, like an elite murder warband like the Stormcast Eternal Warrior Chamber Starsword Mace triple whammy is able to be fairly comfortably taken apart and picked apart with my list, which I think is actually, now I've played it more, especially in real life, it does feel incredibly powerful. In terms of Jess's list, I talked to Phylax and Jess about this after the game, and I understand why the Paladins with Starsword Mace have might, right? They're only strength 5, so being 3, 5, 4, 8. If you're fighting other things, you need those maces to land. So you want to be strength 6 so you can kill more reliably higher toughness things. My stance on that is that the biggest weakness of this list isn't the strength, it's the movement. They're too slow. Bar Severin and Angharad, who are both movement 4, everyone else is movement 3. So my thought would be, if this list had +1 move on the 3 Starsword Maces, I would be nowhere near as comfortably able to mess around with flamers and dance around, right? They're too fast. At that point, their threat range is 6. So if I'm shooting them with flamers, they can also attack me that same turn, and odds are I won't survive that. Yes, it becomes harder for you to kill things at toughness 5 and toughness 6, but from my limited experience and from my perspective on this, is that the only toughness 6 things in the game really are Vexmo, who you can't kill. Vexmo clears a Paladin no matter what you do. Vexmo just kills them. The stat disparity is way too high on Vexmo's side. So, bar Vexmo, who else is toughness 6? Other Stormcast. Unless you're facing other Warrior Chamber with Starsword Maces, well, they're also probably hitting you, frankly, on a 4+ or a 5+. You're hitting them on a 4+ or 5+ as well. The difference is your damage is higher by a lot. Like, the best damage profile in Stormcast is like a 3/6 that you can ally in. So if you're not playing Warrior Chamber, you don't get those 4/8s. So you win those matchups on raw stats. And then against like toughness 5 things, you're hitting on 4s. They're hitting you on 5s with worth stats most of the time again. So you just win on the raw stats. And I know you have to get kills with elites to sort of like claw back activation advantage. I would like to see if this list would have performed better with movement and to stick at strength 5. I could be completely wrong there, but to me, the movement is the biggest issue. Especially if you aren't leaving things injured. Like Warrior Chamber moving 3 lads, they need to be hurt and not dead. So it might have purely just been that I've played this list before. I know all the tricks, I know how to get around their shenanigans, and that plus the matchup being fairly in my favour meant that it just wasn't going to go well either way. But to me, I think movement would be the way forward for that list. So on to the final game. It was against Nacho, or the Head Knight of Pain from Instagram. He's also a patron of the channel. One of the first patrons I've ever had. So it was awesome meeting Nacho for the first time in real life. It was really, really cool. And we got a matchup on the top table at the end. And this was Fight for Profit, which is just it's a treasure mission. So pick up, there's 5 treasures, grab them, have a good time. And if a treasure carrier gets a kill or is killed, the person who did the killing gets a point extra. And that's basically how that mission works. And it's a really fun treasure mission. It's the only one I've actually thoroughly enjoyed in a long time for treasure missions. It's really solid because it incentivizes those treasure carriers to go out of their comfort zone, not just to run away, but to get in there and start getting kills, be a bit more greedy to stack up those points. So I really enjoy that about this. And this was also a win, so this is the 3rd win. So I came first overall, surprise. And this was a really, really interesting game. And the biggest turning point, it didn't really happen until turn 2, but I did set it up for turn 1. But first his list, we need to go over his list. So Nacho's list is it was the Head Knights of Slaanesh Mortals. So it was Slake Slash, Hadzu, 3 Myrmidesh Painbringers, Vasilak the Gifted with Savagery, Glissette, and a Blissbrew Homunculus, which is a fairly solid list. You don't get to see Myrmideshes very often. It's an 8-man list. It's fairly burly, just because the Myrmideshes plus Vasilak are fairly hard to kill. Slake Slash is a bit on the squishy side, but he's also a little murder machine with charge, so very dangerous. And more importantly, they're very fast. So Slaanesh stuff is very good at just taking treasures and running away. So my concern was that was going to happen, and I didn't want that to happen at all. I also didn't want Slake Slash to get a treasure so he could just go in and start murderizing my chaff and getting loads of points, because Slake Slash is very good at killing chaff. So plan was neutralize Slake Slash, get treasures that I can onto the side of the board where my turn 2 deployment comes on, and then castle up, and hopefully kill the 2 treasures on that side of the board as well, which my opponent would naturally get on turn 1, and then just like castle with like 3 or 4 of those treasures and win that way. And it went off without a hitch. So on turn 1, the Trueblood, once again, the legend that is the Trueblood, ran up, netted Slake Slash immediately. Very importantly, Slake Slash hadn't even moved, so he was locked nearish to my turn 2 deployment, close enough that I could engage him with Vexmore on turn 2 when he walked on turn 2. So that was one threat completely neutralized. Then we just all spread out and took treasures, as you do. I managed to get 2, he had 3, which made sense because he's much faster than me. And I used a whole turn to go off and net a Slake Slash, which lost me some tempo basically. The big kicker that kept me the scores even turn 1 was that one of the Myrmideshes picked up a treasure near my deployments when I had a Flame Hurler positioned, able to burn him, and Engulfing Flames of Dark Artifice popped off again, and that guy died. So that was that's just a point for me right off the bat. That's just a free point from killing a treasure carrier. He did pick it up on that same turn with Hadzu, and then naturally ran away. But the need to run away, because Hadzu would also die to the Flame Hurler, meant that the only way she could go was back, which is where my turn 2 reinforcements come on. So it was like a rock and a hard place scenario there, where Hadzu had nowhere she could really go to protect that treasure. So she ran backwards, which played directly into the turn 2. So turn 2 came on, Vasilak came on my board edge where nobody was now, but one Shatterer who had a treasure who was trying to run away. But Vasilak could absolutely just run up and kill him. So that was the main concern on turn 2, was my guy dying. However, his Hadzu was engaged with my Flame Hurler, who just walked around engaged, which means the Hadzu can't escape. It's a flamer who will not die in melee to a Hadzu, and the Hadzu will die to that flamer eventually. So that is definitely going to score me points on the murder. And then Vexmo walked on, engaged Slake Slash, but kept within 2 inches of Hadzu, making a fork, right? So if Slake Slash ran away or I didn't get initiative, it didn't matter, because Vexmo can still kill Hadzu. That's still value, right? I didn't want to just put all my eggs in one basket. I purposely placed for that fork. The thing I was most scared of wasn't Slake Slash at this point. It was Vasilak. And I kept those cards very close to my chest because my opponent rolled a quad. Now, this is where... So, people focus on your Flame Hurlers and your True Blood all the time. And they should. These are very powerful units. These are like the main... things that are Vexmo's hard to kill, but these two are very killable, annoying, powerful threats. Natural rolling a quad 6, he is 100%, he's dedicated to rampaging into that True Blood. Now he has to disengage and then rampage. He's either going to attack Vexmo or he's going to rampage the True Blood, with my gut saying he's going for the True Blood, and that is fine, because once that rampage is done, he's got initiative, because that's how it went. He is going to rampage immediately, and I can then escape with my Shatterer. And that is what I needed to happen. And that's exactly what happened. He saw red, the True Blood netted Slake Slash turn 1. That's annoying. So immediately fearing the net again, he disengaged, ran in, didn't kill the True Blood, which is devastating, right? Just did not kill the True Blood. Because Slake Slash is only strength 4. So hitting on 4s, it wasn't a guaranteed kill, and the True Blood survived. So the rampage didn't achieve much. Then my guy just ran away. Now he's safe. Vasilak can't catch him until turn 3. At that point, I have the rest of my warband to protect him. So I was able to make that one sneaky escape. And then from there, I was completely fine just to do what I needed to do elsewhere. I had complete control over the center of the board now and my turn 2 deployment zone, and that was basically the game. And Nacho realized this the second that Shatterer moved. He realized the mistake, the error, and he was like, oh no, I think that's the game. And it really was. At that point, it was a case of Vexmo killed Hadzu. Vexmo then went off to kill Slake Slash on turn 3. He also killed a Myrmidesh as well, just for the shits. A Flame Hurler killed off I think it was Glissette and a Bliss Brew. In the end, I killed 685 points, which was a fair chunk. I think it was only really Vasilak and maybe one of the Myrmidesh survived. There wasn't much left alive in the end, and that was the game. I think it was 6 to 15 in terms of the treasure points, and it really was just that turn 2. It was the pincer of Vexmo, like netting pincer Vexmo coming on turn 2. And then that one Shatterer making the escape against all odds that won the game. And that was the event. It was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this event. The Horns of a Shut list was very, very powerful. I called it pre-Chof control because I wanted to play Horns of a Shut because of the Chaos Dwarf announcement. And Horns of a Shut are sort of like the OG Warcry representatives of a Shut, and I wanted to just give them a go. And Vexmo's a crutch, and I'm aware Vexmo's a crutch. However, when you're making a control list, you don't get much better than Vexmo, right? Vexmo controls space. People who know how to play against Vexmo will stay away from Vexmo, and people who don't will get domed by Vexmo. Or if there's scenarios where you can force Vexmo into their face, you can just do that. He just controls a big old 8-inch bubble that nothing can go into, because if they do, they die. And that's just it. And Vexmo didn't get close to dying at all in this whole event. Just chilled the whole time and just killed anything that got near him. So Vexmo is a control piece and a very good anchor and hammer. He's good at everything. The star of the show, though, Vexmo got some kills off, sure. The star of the show is the True Blood. Every single game. If Vexmo wasn't in this list and I had something else fairly killy, it would have been harder. But this would have been... I would have been unable to win, I think, with the True Blood, without the True Blood. I was considering dropping the True Blood for a Great Bray Shaman or a Slaughter Priest. And I got very close to pulling the trigger on that change. And I am so glad I didn't, because this list would then just become Vexmo with his friends. Because that's all you're doing. You're pulling people into Vexmo, and that's the whole gimmick of the list. And that isn't what this list is. This is a control list. And for real control, for me, is having that True Blood in addition. Because you have Vexmo who controls space. You have Flame Hurlers who control space. You have the True Blood who has a 13-inch net. That's perfect. So you can pick anything you want, and they don't get to play the game. And if it's possible, you can then go and kill off all their friends nearby. And this is how I tend to play the True Blood. I tend to net one guy on turn 1, and then on turn 2, I'll fucking net him again if I can, and then use the rest of that turn to stab his mates. Because the True Blood is pretty good in combat. 4, 4, 2, 5 is not a bad profile. Great for killing chaff, right? And what accompanies things you want to net? Normally chaff. Because why? Because you have the chaff protected by the big thing. So you net the big thing, kill all the chaff, endless value. And every single game the True Blood found value. Every single game the True Blood opened up game-winning plays. Netting Hrothgorn, repeatedly meant that Hrothgorn was out of the game the whole game. That's 300. That's a third of the warband of Cruel Boys was negated by like less than a fifth of mine. Right, like insane. Then on against Jess, netting a paladin. I think it was netting a paladin, then doing other things. Was a massive tempo swing. It let me control the board easier. Jess couldn't move out as much. It slowed her down substantially on a warband that needs momentum to actually like win and make progress. And then in a Nacho netting Slake Slash opened up the pincer, which was the pincer, the fork, whatever you want to call it. That just crushed the whole warband between like my whole warband and Vexmo. So there was nowhere to run, right? The whole warband's there. There's 2 Flamers, there's a Runeator Alpha and a True Blood on one side. On the other side, there's Vexmo. Where do you go? You go to the grave. And all these plays opened up because of the True Blood. And I know that a lot of people are aware, right, that the True Blood's amazing. It's a well-documented fact that a perfect net is outstanding. Despite that knowledge, despite people knowing the True Blood is unreal, is such a powerful piece, it doesn't get played anywhere near enough in Chaos. And I cannot tell you why. Because you could take 2 True Bloods, and I'm not even joking, you could take 2 True Bloods in the list and you'd probably have a fantastic list no matter what else you brought, because you have so much power and control over what you want to play the game. 1 is enough, frankly, but 2 is fantastic. If you take a True Blood and a Vexmo, what else do you need, right? You have the durability, the threat range, the control, the damage of Vexmo, in addition to the speed, the control, and the spike damage of the True Blood in one package that costs like, what, under 400 points? By a fair chunk, with blessings? Like, you've got over 600 points to build the rest of your warband? You can fit that into anything, and it just becomes better. I did this. I literally took my Untamed Beast list from Warhammer World, which had a True Blood and a Vexmo in this exact formation, and then took out the Untamed Beasts and just slotted it right in there. Horns of a Shut. And this is a much better list than the Untamed Beast list. But the Untamed Beast list was fantastic as well because of this core control aspect. Untamed Beast also had a pull. So it had a net, a pull, and Vexmo control. This doesn't have the pull, it just has flamethrowers. And the flamethrowers are insane. Again, some of the True Blood, everybody knows that flame hurlers are good. Games Workshop are aware, because I believe they've nerfed them twice over the course of the game. They've been nerfed twice. I'm sure they're only 120 points at one point. They're now 140. So that's a substantial increase in price. Now, the flame hurlers are incredible because they do everything you want them to do. So they are both a single target nuke and a crowd clearing nuke, and they control a 14-inch bubble around them, and the closer you encroach into that bubble, the more powerful they become. If you're within 6 inches, you are probably going to die, because the engulfing flames of Dark Artifice plus 6 shots at 1/5 damage, even if you don't get crits, your strength is so high that into most things you are doing like 5 damage anyway. If you get a crit or two, that's just like game-changingly powerful, and then you flamethrower them with the ability. Insane. You can use it with double as well, Merciless Cruelty. So if they're already wounded with 5 wounds on their profile, you can then just hit them on crits on 5+, which is outstanding when you have crit 5. So Flame Hellers are outstanding just for doing the damage. They crowd cleared in the Slake Slash game. They single target cleared when it came to, and also crowd cleared, because one of them basically killed Severin solo, and another one almost soloed a Protector and did massive damage to a Paladin. So they did a mixture of single target and AoE damage in the Stormcast game as well. So they're incredible, and the best part is once you fire once, your opponent immediately goes, they need to die. Your Flame Hurlers shouldn't really live over the course of the game. I lost a Flame Hurler and only one Flame Hurler. I lost 2 Flame Hurlers over the course of 3 games. It was 1 in the first game and 1 in the third game. And in the third game specifically, I positioned the Flame Hurler in such a way that it basically encouraged my opponent to go and kill it and avoid other things. Because the Flame Hurler it's a distraction. Like at that point, I just wanted to slow his guys down and make it so he couldn't get to my big old blob of guys, so I could position more effectively and just sort of like more comfortably win the game without risking like a lucky swing of events that caused a chain reaction to lose the game. Right? I wanted to make sure this was very much stay in my favor, so I moved the Flame Hurler up by himself and just stood in the middle of the board, stood there, shot at Vasilak or whatever, did a bit of damage, and then. Yeah, he got jumped on, but he got jumped on by 3 guys and survived most of them. So he did die in the end, but he also held up 3 models before dying. And this happens a lot. This happens on TTS a lot, where people will beeline those Flame Hurlers. You can place them into positions that are great for like one shot, like one amazing shot. You know it's going to die, but it dying also plays in your favor because they're going to move out of position and do that. And it's amazing. So you can definitely plan around that in the exact same way I planned around the True Blood Rampage with Slake. I didn't know Slake Slash was going to get a Rampage. Once I knew he had a Rampage, I was very confident that the True Blood was going to be the target. So the True Blood became the distraction kind of effects at that point. So there's having the True Blood, having the Flame Hurlers both filling that same sort of like distraction role. You can definitely annoy your opponent or threaten them in such a way that they will absolutely beeline for them. And that's usually a good thing for them to do. Unless you know that and you position in a way that makes that advantageous to you, which is what I was trying to do. So this list overall is fantastic. I think I'm taking this to, there's another event in Southampton. So I think I'll be taking this exact list again to there because I had so much fun playing it. I think the last thing we really talk about is it's just the Ruinator Alpha with Heavy Flail and +1 crit, and he is a really solid piece. Ash Bomb is really strong if you use it at the right. I think if you spam Ash Bomb, you're wasting damage potential on other things. However, if you have an Ash Bomb placed at just the right time, is outstanding. For example, in Hrothgorn. There was a point where Hrothgorn had a quad and was going to like start punching things and shooting things. Ash Bomb. There you go. If he managed to get the kill with the shot with his punches, well, he's less likely. He's only getting 2 attacks per swing as opposed to 3. That's awesome. And if he gets to shoot, he's only getting 1 shot as opposed to 2. So it completely shut down the Hrothgorn on the final turn. That was a excellent use of Ash Bomb. I also Ash Bombed in the game against the Stormcast. Again, the Stormcast Sentinels they cap out at like 3 attacks, apart from Severin, I believe. And Angharad actually only has 2 attacks. So that Ash Bomb is a massive, massive impact to the damage output. So Ash Bomb was very good there. It was completely useless into Nacho's Head Knights because they all have 4 attacks, like base. So going down to 3, yeah, it's an impact, but like it's not as impactful as you'd want it to be. And then in that instance as well, so as an Ash Bomb thrower, amazing. But as a secondary beta, the Ruinator Alpha with Heavy Flail specifically, and with +1 crit, he goes to crit 5. He is the perfect, like, walk in and suddenly kill a guy who's already injured. Because of Merciless Cruelty, him critting on a 5+ with crit 5, he becomes very reliable at just killing something, right? Something's injured from a flamethrower or from a shatterer hitting them. The Ruinator Alpha just walks in and just domes them, right? It's a really powerful piece with that Merciless Cruelty. And what I found was that every time I used Merciless Cruelty, I never rolled a 5. But what I did roll instead was I always rolled 6s. So every single time I would roll my 4 dice and I'll go, I'll use Merciless Cruelty, roll my 4 dice. It'd be like a miss, crit, crit. I'm like, awesome. But it was always the 6s. So whenever I used it, I always got 2 crits, but it was never on 5+. So to me, if I was to be a superstitious man, use Merciless Cruelty to force your dices never to roll 5s, but only roll 6s. And that's how you do it. The Ruinator Alpha was really, really good in this game. He did a lot of work. And Shatterers as well, just to end off on the Shatterers. Amazing chap. They're 60 points, they're outstanding. They're 10 wounds, range 2, 3, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5 on the first crit per turn with them. Insane. They are so good. They swing above their weight. If they get lucky, they you know, even into a Stormcast, right? Like they helped kill Severin. Because their crit is so high, they have such a high volume of attack. They can also use Merciless Cruelty. I did do that in this game. Them critting, they're always set on 5s anyway. So in a clutch scenario where you need damage to go through, you've got a double lying around. Merciless Cruelty with one of these guys and just pop off with a crit or 2 is a good time. So Shatters are amazing. And that's the list. But before I end the video, I want to go over other lists in this event because there was 5 other players. Well, 4 other players. So those three that I played, plus myself makes 4. I want to go through some other lists. So in third, Nacho came second. So I came first. Nacho came second. And then Badger, who made the... who didn't play it this time, but Badger made the Tears of the Arcane mission, which is a very interesting treasure mission. He ran with Dark Oath. And this list is pretty funky. So he's got a War Queen Tanari with Resilience, so that's +1 toughness. Dark Oath Marauders, a bunch of Marauders. A War Queen, a basic War Queen with Might, and then a Fomroid Crusher. And this is really nasty. The basic War Queen allows all your Marauders to move. And that's crazy. It gives your list so much mobility that it's very difficult to deal with. Her and Tanari are also very good at blending through hordes. Tanari in particular has an AoE ability where she attacks everything in range. So Tanari is an absolute blender. Tanari can definitely catch people off, and I fully imagine that into Cyberites and into Cruel Boy, like, you know, Noblar spam, that Tanari went absolutely apeshit and just killed them all. So Tanari is great. And then you have the Fomroid Crusher. The Fomroid Crusher is not taken much anymore, which I always find a bit sad. He got nerfed, his points went up by 5 or 10 points. And that sucks. But the Fomroid Crusher isn't bad. It's never been bad. It's a really powerful piece. Like, 35 wounds, toughness 6, strength 6, 3 attacks, 4 damage. Thing's insane. Movement 5. Generates wild dice. They can run in, just headbutt you for like a flat 6. Like, this is insane. It's really, a really powerful piece. And in this list is perfect. The list is 8-man, which is fairly common in this event. I had 8-man, and Nacho had 8-man, Badger had 8-man. Yeah, like when you've got like really efficient chaff with marauders who can move. You've got some really powerful and durable blendy pieces into Nari and the War Queen, and you've got the Foam Red Crusher for raw damage output. It's going to go pretty well. He played into Nacho, into the Cruel Boys, and also Iron Golems, which I'll go into in a second. Iron Golems had 2 Ogre Breachers, which is a scary list to deal with. But he nabbed the win there, and I imagine it's because of the Foam Red Crusher. As good as Breachers are, they are not Foam Red Crushers, and Foam Red Crushers will blend through them like nothing. Because they have higher toughness, they have more wounds, and they hit easier. And they hit easier and they die slower. So into an Ogre Breacher, the Crusher just kills them in most scenarios, and I can see it happening there. So Badger's list, that list getting third, I'm not surprised. It's a very strong list. Dimitri ran the Slaanesh Demons, and this is actually my favorite list of the whole event. This is such a fun list. So this is like speed incarnate, like 5 Hellstriders, awesome. It's 3 with Claw Spear and 2 with Hellscourge, which I don't know the difference of, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know the differences. I imagine one has range, one does not. It has he brought a Fiend and he brought an Infernal Enraptress, which is a pretty powerful, I believe it has a charm ability, to say net, but more powerful basically. So this list is crazy fast. It's like movement 10 or 12. They're all mounted, well, most of them are mounted. So with archways and doors, it can be a bit awkward, and with certain terrain, it can be awkward. And I believe playing into, I think it was Badger, it struggled because Badger just climbed onto platforms, so he couldn't get attacked. But this list came 4th, and it's the coolest list. Yeah, it was beautiful. All the war bands were if I can get pictures, I'll put them up. All the war bands here are beautiful. But this was my favorite warband simply because it was so thematically cool. Just a whole cavalry army plus a person playing a freaking gut harp. Amazing. Absolutely. It was such a good looking list and really creative. Then we got in 7th. So Jess came 5th. Her Stormcast. Matthew with his Schoolboys came 6th. Thomas ran in with his Iron Golems. His Iron Golems list is quite nasty. It's your standard double breacher list. It's like 2 breachers with ferocity, a dominar with ferocity, and then a bunch of Iron Legionaries. It comes to 7 man, so it's a little bit on the small side, but when you have 2 Ogre Breachers, that's a lot of kill potential. And unfortunately, Thomas lost to Stormcast, lost to Badger's Dark Oath, and then tied into Anna's Thunderstrike, which I'll get to in a second. So he got his face kicked in a little bit, and I do think it's simply because as good as 2 Ogre Breachers are, going into Warrior Chamber, who are just as killy, if not killier, and going into a very murder centric Dark Oath list, you can kill your Breachers and kill your chaff fairly easily. I don't think the matchups necessarily went into Thomas's favour. He's a great guy. I played him at Glasgow. It was a fantastic game. I've talked to him many times at different events. Absolutely wonderful bloke. So it's a real shame that he managed to struggle into his matchups. But the list itself is very, very good. And then finally, in 8th place, we had Anna. This is her first set of... this is her first tournament ever, I believe. And she's only had like maybe like 1 or 2 games in the past. So she's very, very new. And she brought Thunderstrike, and this is quite a funky list. So you've got she brought Thunderstrike, and she brought big chunky Thunderstrike. So this is all Annihilators. So it's Annihilator with Grand Hammer, Annihilator with Meteoric Hammer and Swiftness, a Liberator with Shield and Heroism, an Annihilator with Meteoric Hammer and Swiftness again, Tenya Thrice Trusted, and I don't know who that is. Who the hell's that? I have no idea. I need to look that up. And a Annihilator with Grand Hammer again. So this is a lot of Annihilators. just on the board with a Liberator, I assume for Legal of the Tyrants, which is a very powerful ability, and then Tenya Thrice Trusted, who I am going to look up right now. Live on camera, I will look up who the fuck is Tenya Thrice Trusted. Oh, Tenya is the, yes, it's the Gladiatorium Praetorian, I believe. So this guy is the lad who can heal, and he can also do some, and he can instruct people to do things better. Exacting tutelage. So yeah, you can pick a guy, gives them +2 move, and toughness and attack. So you can make like one guy incredibly murderous and swift. So that's a pretty good pick there, actually. Tenya is a really funky support piece there. So this itself is a really solid Thunderstrike list. It's hard to kill. It's toughness many. It will do a lot of things. Looking at the matchups, game 1, Endless Struggle, so a treasure, kill, and objective combo mission was in a Dimitri and his Slaanesh demons. And I can say that simply because Dimitri can just outrun you. You can take the treasures and run away. You can take the objectives and just hold out. And there's not much you can do about that when you're a slow Thunderstrike list. That makes sense. Game 2 into Cruel Boys. Stand and Fight is a objective mission. It's a numbers issue here, I think, again. The fact that Matthew's Cruel Boys had 10 or 11 models in it. Into a 6-man Thunderstrike list on an objective mission. And Hrothgorn being able to be a big old, a threatening, unkillable ogre. Again, I think this was probably a fairly close game, I imagine. But numbers into elites. Realistically, in this scenario, we see this on Wild Dice a lot. Me and Dimitri see this an awful lot. Is that in an elite warband, it relies on dice more than any other warband type. A horde warband never needs to roll dice to win objective games. They can just stand around and fuck about. They never need to do anything else. However, a 6-man Thunderstrike list has to get out there and kill. If they can't do that because of distance, because of your opponent playing cagely, you lose on activations. You can't control the space, and your opponent can, like, if they can have the advantage on turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, you really can't catch up. Really, they only have to have that dominating lead on turn 1, turn 2, and then sort of like they can then lose that lead a little bit on turn 3 and turn 4, and it's game over still. Matthew's a pretty good player, so I can imagine that that's exactly what happened. Is that he kind of played cagely and used his mass number advantage just to hold the board that way, and the draw on the final game, I can see that it's been a really fun game, simply because it's 2 killy lists. Those Ogre Breachers are much harder to kill if you want a 4/8 from Red Crusher or a Star Soulmace Paladin, right? So the Iron Golems going into Anna's Thunderstrike is probably a pretty good matchup for those Breachers because they can kill more effectively on the return swing, and they're also faster as well in this treasure mission. This would have been, I imagine, a pretty big scrap as they just all rush the treasures and just start to smash each other. And it being a draw is very fitting for that kind of play style, which I imagine turned out. But it's a fun list. So overall, there were some really good lists here, some really fun lists and really good lists. And the event was fantastic. I had a bunch of fun playing all my games. I had a great time talking to everyone, and I absolutely love this Horns of a Shut list. If you haven't played Horns of a Shut before, I recommend it. They are very strong, despite being the first of the Bespokes in 2nd edition released. You would think they've been power crept or they were bad because, why wouldn't you? Most Bespokes are pretty bad, sadly, compared to Compendium, especially 2nd edition stuff. The 2nd edition stuff in particular has been very up and down. So the assumption that Horns of a Shut are bad, if you're new at the game, is a fair one. They are not. They are very, very strong. So if you want to check out the list, I'll put it on screen again. Shabadoosh. Check that out. Really fun list. Mess around with it, have fun, give it a go, and I will end that video here. So if you've made it this far, I've rambled the entire time. This was unscripted. I'm rambling, just having a good time. If you enjoy this kind of video, let me know and I'll make some more of it. Otherwise, I apologize for this ramble. But until next time, lads, ladies, and everybody in between and beyond, ta-ra. Groovy. Welcome to the post-toast credits. A massive shout out to all of my patrons and members, but an extra big shout out to my algorithmic demon slayers, Andy Morris, blah blah blah, Brioche, the Head Knight of Paint, Heinz D, Lord Fireaxe, Maps, Sable Saver, Steve Bean, the Houston Toad, and Velas. Thank you all for continuing to support this shit show of a channel, and I'll catch you all next time.